So the day has officially arrived. Today, January 26, 2026, Neptune is in Aries. And if you've been paying attention to how this year has started, you can already feel it. 2 days ago, Alex Preddy, a 37-year-old ICU nurse at the VA hospital, was killed by Border Patrol agents in Minneapolis. He was recording federal agents with his phone, stepped between an agent and a woman who'd been pushed to the ground, and was shot 10 times for standing between someone and harm. And before that, on January 7th, Renee Nicole Good was also killed by ICE agents in Minneapolis. I don't need to tell you that this is happening in the context of a broader federal immigration crackdown. I'm talking Operation Metro Surge that's turned Minneapolis into a kind of testing ground for what state power looks like when it stops pretending to care about accountability. But thanks to Pluto and Aquarius, the people are rising. There was a general strike where 50,000 people in sub-zero temperatures showed up. Hundreds of small businesses closed and clergy people were arrested at the airport. And then, of course, within the same breath, Alex Preddy was shot and killed. So when I say that the energies have ramped up toward a fiery realm, I mean, look around. We're watching it happen. And this isn't just Minneapolis I'm talking about here. This is a global conflict, and we are in it. The questions forming in all of these movements and all of these moments is the same question. At what point do we respond? At what point is it enough? How do we respond in a way that doesn't just replicate the violence we're trying to stop? And that's what this Neptune and Aries era is asking us to figure out. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I have all the answers because I don't, but I do think astrology can show us the terrain and it can help us orient ourselves. It can show us what's being asked of us in this moment, not to tell us what to do exactly, but what kind of people we need to become to meet this moment consciously. So let's talk about Neptune and Aries. Let's talk about what it means. First, I'm going to break down all that Aries energy and then some reflection prompts and finally some practical exercises you can implement today to orient yourself to the Neptune and Aries energy. So let's get into it. So let's start with Neptune in Aries. Now, the archetype here, according to Stephen Forrest and Evolutionary Astrology, is the spiritual warrior. And I need you to hear me when I say this is not the Hollywood version, okay? This is not the lone wolf hero who rides in, saves everyone, and rides off into the sunset. No, the spiritual warrior is someone who has something beyond themselves to live for, something they would be willing to defend, not because they're looking for a fight, not because they're drunk on rage or righteousness, but because they have clarified what matters. They have a code, they have principles. And when the moment comes, and the moment always comes, they don't panic. They stay steady and focused, and they act from that code and not from fear. The spiritual warrior is about clarity and focus in the presence of fear. Fear, when it's not turned into panic, when it's harnessed, it brings out levels of strength and intelligence we didn't even know we had. That's the spiritual warrior. It's not someone who isn't afraid, but someone who doesn't let fear grab the steering wheel. And here's where the Art of War by Sun Tzu comes in, because I think that this text, which, yes, I know it's about military strategy, but stay with me here. I think this text is actually the perfect companion to understanding Neptune in Aries. Sun Tzu wrote The Art of War around 500 BCE, and there's this popular misreading of it as this ruthless, immoral, do whatever it takes to win kind of philosophy. And that's not what it is at all. The Art of War is grounded in moral law as the first principle. Sun Tzu says that the first factor in determining success is whether the people are in complete accord with their ruler, whether they share a common philosophy that gives their struggle greater meaning. He says that war is a destructive last resort. He says that the pinnacle of military excellence is winning without fighting, that you should preserve rather than destroy. Even in conflict, there are principles. Even in war, there is a code. And now I'm not saying we're literally going to war, okay? I'm saying that the principles apply here because what Neptune in Aries is asking us is what are you willing to defend? And when the moment comes to defend it, what guides your actions? Is it rage? Is it revenge? Or is it something deeper, something more aligned with the kind of world you're trying to build? In the art of war, it teaches that you can't unite people without shared philosophy. You can't build lasting change without principles that hold. Neptune in Aries is putting us in a 14-year initiation where we have to figure this out. What's our code? What are our principles? What's worth defending? And how do we defend it without becoming the thing we're fighting against? Because here's the shadow of Neptune in Aries: drunk on anger, fighting pointless battles against illusory foes, martyrdom, holding grudges, passionate about trivialities, like all that fire, all that warrior energy, it gets twisted into rage for rage's sake. I'm talking about battles that don't actually move us forward, but just exhaust us and isolate us even more. So the work here is learning to tell the difference, staying grounded in what actually matters, not panicking, but rather staying steady. And this is where Pluto in Aquarius comes in because Pluto in Aquarius is revealing where power actually lives. It's kicking up all the collective rot, showing us how these systems work and showing us that these systems only work because we comply. They need us. The government manages our labor, our resources, our compliance, but without us, they manage nothing. Power truly belongs to the people. This is how any infrastructure works. And so Neptune in Aries, in conversation with Pluto in Aquarius, is asking, now that you know where power lives in you, in us, collectively, what will you do with that knowledge? How will you respond? And I think about this moment that we're in. Globally, we are at the ripest moment to turn the tides here. We struggle to provide shelter over our heads that we'll never truly own. We pay for food riddled with chemicals and hormones, housing crisis, immigration crisis, elderly care, retirement, healthcare, childcare. I mean, like, what are we actually doing? Are we truly content with this system, or are we just lacking the awareness or maybe the courage to shift it? And you see it everywhere. Palestine, Myanmar, Congo, Sudan, the list goes on and on. The daily violence of law and order only seems to protect property and power, not the people. Innocent civilians are being slaughtered every day. Alex Preddy standing between an agent and a woman and getting shot for it. Renee Nicole Good trying to move her car and getting killed for it. At what point is it going to be enough? And look, I'm not calling for reckless violence here. I need to be really clear about that. What I am naming is the awareness of the moment we're in, the powerlessness that these systems create because they're afraid of us catching up to our own power. This is what I mean about Neptune in Aries being about the exploration of morality. This is the Aries pivot point because Aries isn't just about action, it's about what guides that action. It's about principles in the face of pressure. At some point, an organism has to extract a life-threatening parasite or face extinction. And that's Aries energy for you. That's survival. That's protecting what needs to be protected. And the question Neptune and Aries is putting in front of us is, who do these laws actually serve? Because the rules have clearly changed. We can see it. We're watching it happen in real time. The social contract, the idea that we give up certain freedoms in exchange for collective security and prosperity, that contract is broken. We kept our end of the deal, and these systems didn't. And so the question becomes, what are we participating in by staying compliant? What are we defending by staying quiet. Now, here's the thing, and this is where I want to be really, really, really careful. This isn't about having all the answers either. I don't clearly have all the answers. None of us do. But I'm not gullible enough to ignore the clear signs that the rules have changed. And I'm hopeful enough to intuit that collectively, if we rise together, this world will be a better place for all. If we were all to rise, the illusory force that continues to instill pressure on us will cease, but only if we rise, and only if we rise together as people who recognize that the work of transformation is collective. It's grounded in shared principles and is about building something rather than tearing something down. This is about growing up alongside the times we're in, not perfectly or without fear, but consciously, with intention, with a code. All right? So, what does this mean for you, like personally? What does Neptune and Aries actually ask of us as individuals living through this era? So, Neptune and Aries is a 14-year transit. So, this is not a weekend workshop you can take or a 3-month intensive. It's a long, slow initiation into the archetype of the spiritual warrior. It's about the choices you make when no one's watching and building the capacity to stay steady under pressure. Here are some prompts Neptune and Aries is asking you to sit with. First up, what are you willing to defend? Not abstractly, not justice or freedom in some vague sense. I mean specifically, what in your life, in your community, in your world matters enough to you that you would take a risk to protect it? What would you show up for, even when it's inconvenient or scary, even when you don't know if it'll work? Number two, what principles guide your action when you're afraid? Because fear is coming. Fear is already here. Neptune in Aries is full of fear. The spiritual warrior doesn't pretend not to be afraid. They just don't let fear make the decisions. So, what are your principles? What's your code? Have you even clarified that? Number three, where are you fighting ghosts instead of systems? This is a shadow work question. Where is your anger misdirected? Where are you exhausting yourself in battles that don't actually move anything forward? Because Neptune and Aries will give you endless opportunities to burn out on pointless fights if you're not discerning reality. And lastly, probably the most important prompt, who are your people in this? Who is your community? Because you can't do this alone. The spiritual warrior myth wants you to think that you can, but you can't. Sustainable change requires networks of trust built over time through showing up again and again. So, who are your people? And if you don't have them yet, where are you going to find them? Now, I also want to give you some actual practices to work with as we move through this Neptune and Aries era. Use what resonates and leave what doesn't. First up, face fear this week. It doesn't have to be bungee jumping. It could be going to that protest again or having that conversation. It could be speaking up when you usually stay quiet. The point is, practice staying present when you're scared. Build that capacity. Number two, study strategy. Read The Art of War. Study movements that succeeded and movements that failed, and learn the difference between effective action and performative action. Learn what actually works. Number three, clarify your code. Write down your principles, your non negotiables. What do you stand for? What won't you compromise on? What guides you? Spiritual warriors have codes. So, what's yours? And of course, find your people, join something, show up somewhere, build trust through repeated presence. Go to the same organizing meeting every single week, volunteer at a mutual aid spot, and be consistent. That's how community forms. And a bonus tip, because we love bonuses, practice staying present with discomfort. Meditation, breath work, somatic practices, cold showers, even, I don't know, anything that trains your nervous system to stay regulated when things get intense. Because Neptune and Aries will bring intensity, and you want to be ready. And here's the thing I really want you to hear: you don't have to do this all perfectly. You don't have to become some fully realized spiritual warrior by next week. This is a 14-year initiation. It's long, it's slow. It's about who you're becoming over time and through practice and through showing up and through choosing consciousness over escapism again and again. The question isn't, am I doing it right? The question is, am I participating? Am I present? Am I choosing to grow alongside this moment rather than numbing out or checking out? Because that's what Neptune in Aries is really asking. Conscious participation and the willingness to stay present and stay engaged and to keep clarifying your principles, to build your capacity, even when everything in you wants to just not. As we've watched this year unfold, we can see what this transit is asking of us. It's asking us to become spiritual warriors, people with something beyond ourselves to live for. This moment is truly asking us to face the moral pivot point we're standing on and respond consciously with clarity about what matters and what kind of world we're trying to build. It's truly asking us to recognize that power lives in us collectively. It's asking us to figure out what we're going to do with that knowledge, because these systems need our compliance to survive. They need us, not the other way around. And these revolutionary planetary shifts we're experiencing are asking us to grow up alongside the times, consciously, with principles that hold even when everything is shaking. I don't have all the answers. None of us do. But I know this. Neptune in Aries is a 14-year initiation into spiritual warriorhood. We're learning in real time how to defend what matters together. The rules have clearly changed and we can see it. Are we awake enough to respond? This is the work, and I'm so honored to be doing it together. Please check out my private community, The Collective, where we process all this astrology in real time through a private community, workshops, personalized horoscopes, and courses. So much resource packed into this. Right now, I'm doing a 30-day free trial. You can try it on and see if it works for you. And if it's not, you can cancel. No pressure. Anyways, lots of love for you. Thank you for supporting this channel. I appreciate you so much. Smash the likes, subscribes. Y'all already know what you got to do. Bye for now. We got this.